Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Welcome to the JustCuz TV NFL Win Predictions NFC edition for the 2020-2021 season. My name is Anthony, and in this video, I will be joined by my cousin and co-founder of the channel, Steve.
What's going on, guys?
And in this video as well, we will have our good buddy, Dr. Wes.
Howdy there, people.
How you guys doing?
Not too shabby.
Not too
Good, man.
shabby.
Excited to talk about this.
Now this is the NFC video, so if you guys missed it, our previous video was the AFC video. If you guys want to check that one out first. So guys, if you're feeling ready, let's go ahead and hop right into the NFC East. And at the top of our win projections from Vegas, we have the Dallas Cowboys. Unable to come to a long-term deal, Dak Prescott signed his franchise tag. They re-signed Amari Cooper to a 5-year, $100 million contract. They made some really strong moves on defense by adding defensive tackle Dontari Pell, safety Clinton Dix, defensive tackle Gerald McCoy. They grabbed wide receiver CeeDee Lamb in the draft. So, Steve, what are your thoughts on the Cowboys this season?
So I think the Cowboys are you're always trepidatious about putting all your eggs in one basket with the Cowboys, right? They're stacked on talent. They should be really a 12 to 13 win team year in and year out, but they're just not. They went 8-8 last year. I do see them getting better than that, but it's hard to trust them. I have them at just barely over about 10 to 11 win team, and second place in the division.
Dr. West, do you agree?
Yeah, so they went 8-8 last year. I think they have a slight upgrade with their coach this year with Mike McCarthy. Otherwise, I don't think too much has changed. I mean, they have added some pieces that you talked about, but nothing that's really making me think that much is going to change. So to me, they're still an 8-8 team. Maybe get up to 9 wins, but I just can't imagine myself betting the over. So I'm going to take the under.
Taking the under. Do you think they come in at like 8 wins, or do you think they come in with fewer wins than that?
I think 8 or 9 is probably the number.
8 or
in my
9.
opinion.
Yeah, this win projection in this division looks pretty dang good to me. 9.5 is like it's that fringe number. It could be 8, could be 9, could be 10. For them, I just think that this division is just a crapshoot this year. You have the Eagles, who again, all these games are competitive. The Eagles are going to be there. The Giants will be there for the first quarter of the year, the first third of the year, and then they're going to fall away. Then you have this Washington team. Don't even know what's going on there. Dallas, they should win this division, I think. It could be the Eagles, of course. I'm going to take the over. I think 10 wins is right on the cusp of where they should be at in winning this division, stacked with talent again. That offense should be hot fire. The defense is fantastic, probably a top 3 to 5 defensive unit in the league. 10 or 11 wins, definitely within the realm of possibility for this team. And just like as we mentioned, the two-horse race this year in the NFC East is going to be the Cowboys and the Eagles. The Eagles made some big upgrades. They traded for cornerback Darius Slay to improve their secondary, which was huge. They also drafted quarterback Jalen Hurts in the second round. We all know Carson Wentz's injury past. The guy gets hurt every year, it seems like. They drafted Jalen Reagor as well out of TCU, the wide receiver from there. This team, they consistently show promise, but Dr. West, can they capitalize on that promise this year?
I think that this is all about whether Carson Wentz gets injured. So to me, this is a dangerous bet. This is not one I would make in real life. I don't think Jalen Hurts coming in as a rookie is going to be able to carry that team the way that Foles did in the past when Wentz went down. So I think you're gambling on Wentz's health. To me, I'm just gonna be a sissy and take the push on this one. I think that I think that 9 wins is very much in the realm of possibilities, and I think that that's pretty good guess of where they're going to end up at.
Steve, do you think the Eagles can push the Cowboys this year?
I do. I think they're a much better team than Vegas is giving them credit for. I think Darius Slay is a huge upgrade at quarterback for them, right? I think they might be their best quarterback they've had since Nnamdi Asomugha came in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's good for them. I like Carson Wentz. I think he's done some good stuff. I think when he's healthy, he's obviously done some good stuff. It's tough. It's tough to predict injuries. You obviously don't hope anyone ever gets injured. I'm hoping he stays healthy this year, and if they do, I think they win the division. I think this isn't over.
This is over. How many wins you got for them this year then?
I have them at 12 wins.
12. Oh my goodness. So are you saying
Hot
this
fire.
this over 9 is, would it be a lock, you think? Is
Yeah,
this
I think so. I think it's a definite lock for the Eagles on the over from 9 wins.
Okay, very interesting. I'm going to side with Dr. West here. By looking at this win projection of 9, if you take the over on 9, you think that this team can get to double digits in wins. It's doable, it's feasible, but taking the under makes you think they're only going to get 7 or 8 wins, which that doesn't seem right either. I am also going to push on this and avoid this number like the plague. I hate this number. It could be 6, it could be 11 or 12 like Steve thinks. They went 9-7 last year. I think they do the same exact thing this year. They're going to dismantle the Jets. They're going to dismantle this Washington football team that they're going to trot out there. But double digits, feasible, not bettable for me though in this particular example. So I'm gonna say they get to 9 wins. Wild card's a possibility for this team, of course. Next up, that gives us the New York Jets, or the New York Giants, I apologize, the New York Giants. They drafted left tackle Andrew Thomas at 4th overall. They've attempted to make big improvements to their offensive line in the past couple of years. Not many changes. We know the pieces. We know that they have Daniel Jones. We know about Saquon. So, Steve, will we see the sophomore slump out of Daniel Jones, or can he actually lead this team to a playoff berth?
I don't. They're definitely not a playoff team. I think 6 wins is out of the teams in this whole division. I think 6 wins is probably closer to what they will be if Daniel Jones can step up. But I just don't really see that happening. I think they're going to probably be right around where they were last year at 3, 4, 5-ish wins. I love Saquon Barkley. He's probably one of my favorite players in the league. He's a awesome player, versatile threat. But I feel bad that he's stuck on this terrible, terrible Giants team.
Mm-hmm.
So at 6 wins, that's definitely an under for me.
It's an under. Dr. West, what do you think?
Yeah, so I think that they had 4 wins last year. I think that they were better than that last year. They lost some close games. I do think that they have one of the more porous defenses. But even if you didn't think that their improvements to the offensive line didn't make them that much better, I think they are in that 6-win neighborhood, and I guess that's why Vegas is good at making lines. So again, for me, this is a push. I think they're a 6-win team.
Well, Dr. West, I think we woke up on the same side of the bed this morning. I also have this number as absolutely perfect. They went 4-12 last year. I think Daniel Jones is going to improve, not so much that they make the playoffs, but I think 5, 6, or 7 is absolutely spot on with this. They should be able to knock around this Washington football team a little bit. When it comes to these games against Dallas and Philadelphia, they're going to be barn burners. I could see these games going 20-13, all of them. They're not going to be high scoring. It's just going to be NFC East football. I'm avoiding the Eagles and Giants bets like the plague again. They're too perfect. The odds are too perfect. It's not worth even touching them. You just don't know with these two teams. And that brings us to, oh my goodness, the Washington football team. If there was ever an offseason to not enjoy, it was one if you were part of this team. On the bright side, they drafted defensive end Chase Young with the 2nd overall pick. They drafted Antonio Gibson in the 3rd round, who may be the starter with Darius Geist no longer available. Alex Smith just recently cleared for football activity, which is a fantastic story, it's great for him. But it remains to be seen if Dwayne Haskins or Alex Smith runs this football team. Rod Rivera has a lot to chew through during the offseason when the season gets started. We'll have to see how he does in his first year with this team. But Dr. West, how do you think that this Washington football team is going to do this season?
Yeah, so I will start out by saying I think it's the over. I'm an Ohio State fan, so I'm excited to see. I think Dwayne Haskins has a lot more to offer. He only played 1 year at Ohio State. He played 1 year last year. I think he's going to make a big leap forward this year. Terry McLaurin, another Ohio State player, I think he's a stud. And I think that he's going to be the perfect thing, the safety net that Dwayne Haskins needs. And then you get Chase Young, who, I mean, anytime you can put pressure on the opposing quarterback, that is a good thing for your team. I think he's better than either of the Bosa brothers, both of which were Ohio State players. I think that Defensive Player of the Year, he is the favorite for that, and I think that's probably a pretty sound bet, but I don't think the odds are good enough to do it. Ron Rivera is an upgrade at coach. So I think all the pieces are lining up for the Washingtons to at least pass 5 wins. I don't think that's asking much. I think they're a 6 to 7 win team.
Okay. Do you think the appropriate nickname for this team should be the Washington Buckeyes at this point?
It could be. I mean, they have. I don't like the Reds, the Washingtons, but with the way that they're drafting Ohio State Buckeyes, I may have to have a new favorite team.
It seems like that's what they're leaning towards. I mean, they're within proximity, right? They're not far away from each other, honestly. So, Steve, do you agree with Wes's take on the Washingtons?
I agree with some things. I think that Chase Young is an absolute monster. I think what you said about Alex Smith, that's a great story. Glad to see him back. Being a number 1 overall pick from what was that, 2004, I think? It's been a while.
Yeah. Out of Utah.
So, yep. So to see that, there are some things that I will wholeheartedly disagree. I don't think Dwayne Haskins is any good. I don't think Dwayne Haskins will get any better. He hasn't really shown anything to prove that he can do that, at least not to me. I didn't see him at Ohio State a whole lot, so maybe that's where I'm wrong. Maybe Wes knows more than I do in that regard. I think Ron Rivera, I agree Ron Rivera is definitely a huge upgraded coach. I think Ron Rivera is a great coach. I think for lack of a better term, just absolute shit show of a football team, Ron Rivera is the guy to kind of lead them going forward. But I think there will be some bumps. I think there will be some bruises. I think there will be some stumbles this year. At 5 wins, honestly, it's an under for me.
Yeah, that 5 for a team coming off this offseason that they did, that number seems to be just a tad bit too high for me. This team needs to be thrown into a dumpster fire, needs to be completely started over. Dan Snyder needs to get out of town. They need to figure something out, but whether it's a full city move, whether they go somewhere else, I think Ron Rivera is the guy to do that. I just don't think Dwayne Haskins is the answer, at least for this year. I'm sure we'll see some Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins, some weird combination of quarterbacks play this year. For me, throw this team into the bottom with the Jacksonville Jaguars. They went 3-13 last year. I think they do the same thing again this year. I'm going to take the under, and I think that's a pretty safe under, in my opinion. 5 in this division with the competition that they're facing, with the dumpster fire mentality that's going on right now in this organization. 5 seems like a humongous ask. And with that, as you can tell based off my over-under picks, my clear division winner is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're the most complete football team. They're the most explosive football team. They should be able to get to double-digit wins this year, and for me, they are going to take the division. Steve, what do you think?
Clearly, from everything that I have, I think it'll come down to the Eagles and the Cowboys, but I just don't trust the Cowboys, and I'm kind of high on the Eagles, so I'm going the Eagles.
Eagles? Wes, you going to break this tie for us?
Yeah, I completely agree with Steve. I just don't trust the Cowboys. I think the Eagles will be okay. I don't think they're going to go very far in the playoffs, but I think they'll win this division.
Okay, I will note that while I do like Dallas to win the division, they are currently at minus 121 in Vegas to win the division, but that sounds absolutely horrible. I wouldn't touch that. The Eagles at plus 150 either doesn't offer much value for me. It's a little bit better value, obviously, than Dallas because you're getting the plus money, but I just don't think that this is a division that's going to get my money this year.
Yeah. I agree.
Perfect. Let's go ahead and move on. We'll move on to the NFC North. We'll go start off with the Green Bay Packers. Vegas is projecting a huge drop-off of 4.5 fewer wins than last year. They won 13 this year, and as you see, they are projected for 8.5 this year. They drafted quarterback Jordan Love in the first round, so it's hard to make what we think this team is going to do at quarterback this year. Well, Aaron Rodgers finishes the starter. This team did make the deep run to the NFC Championship last year, but Steve, who will the Packers be this year?
So again, I think Aaron Rodgers is my Deshaun Watson of the NFC, right? It's so hard to bet against him. Just all the things that guy can do, the moving around, the extending plays, how many games has that guy won on last second Hail Marys? So, and a win's a win, whether, it's by 15 points or by 10 points. A huge drop off for them at 4.5 games. I just don't see that happening. I don't know if they're going to win the division. I think it's a two-pony race between them and the Vikings. Again, that's going to be a 50-50. If you had to make me pick, I'd have the Packers in second place, but as far as the over-under on the win projections, it's an over.
Dr. West, do you agree?
I completely agree. I think there are some impending problems there. It seems like they're going out of their way to piss off Aaron Rodgers. They didn't address the wide receiver position at all in the draft, which they needed to do. Instead, they take a quarterback in the first round. What are you guys doing? It doesn't make sense. That being said, 4.5 wins lower than last year. That doesn't make sense to me. I think they're probably a 9 to 10 win team, so I think I would take the over.
Yeah, you guys said it. There's no way this team loses 5 more games than they did last year. Aaron Rodgers is still there, let's be honest. Jordan Love will be a huge asset, but I think this is a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation. They're going to try to groom Jordan Love behind Aaron Rodgers. Willing Aaron Rodgers is wanting to do that. We have all seen him. He's not, the most loquacious person when it comes to helping people out, let's say. Loquacious. We're dropping it. We're dropping the loquacious. Yeah. The win projection, it seems a little low. For a team that did win 13 games and made the NFC Championship last year, I think this is a fairly easy over, honestly. I think double digits is well within the realm of possibility for the Packers.
Yeah.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think you got to beware as a bettor when all of us are saying over. It almost always works out in Vegas's, they are the house wins. And if we are all saying over, it seems so obviously over. I don't know. There's something fishy about this line to me. And that being said, Packers are a popular team that are often betted. They have a ton of fans that will bet the over, just like the Cowboys. So often you'll see that their number is higher than what Vegas really thinks it is because they know a lot of people come in high on them. So this is very fishy to me. That being said, I would still take the over, but I would not be shocked if they come in at 7 or 8 wins.
Yeah, Vegas knows something here, I think.
Yeah.
They wouldn't set this at 8.5 to just have everyone take the over. They have something they know that's going on with this organization, and we'll see how that plays out this year, whether it's defensive troubles, it's Aaron Rodgers being replaced by Jordan Love. You never know. Honestly, with the Packers, you never know. Matt LaFleur, pretty good coach, I think, in his first year, did an excellent job, but we'll see. We'll see if there's a head coach sophomore slump for him next year. That then takes us to the Minnesota Vikings, who share the same exact win projection as the Green Bay Packers at 8.5. During this offseason, they traded away Stephon Diggs, but they drafted LSU wide receiver Justin Jefferson. We did have some breaking news this morning that the Vikings traded a second and conditional 5th-round pick for defensive end Yannick Ngakoue, which is an excellent pickup. It's a huge move. It gives them superstars all over their defense, which includes Danielle Hunter, Harrison Smith, Anthony Harris, Eric Hendricks, and so on and so forth. Kirk Cousins got a 2-year, $66 million extension. So, Dr. West, is this money well spent across the board, or will they be looking for a quarterback and other pieces in the next couple of years?
I think you got to lock them in on the over. This is a Dr. West lock. Assuming Dalvin Cook doesn't hold out, which doesn't make sense because even if he holds out this year, he'll be a restricted free agent. They're adding all the right pieces. They were a good team to begin with. I don't think that the trade of Stephon Diggs for Justin Jefferson is really going to make that much of a difference. If you watched him at LSU, he's a damn good receiver. And Stephon Diggs, I think, was relatively toxic in that locker room, demanding more looks his way and just the way he handled things. I just don't think he was good for that locker room. I don't think that Kirk Cousins is anything special, but he's a serviceable quarterback, and I think he has enough pieces around him that he's not going to throw away games. So to me, they were 10-6 last year. They're at least 10-6 this year, in my opinion.
Mhm. Steve, do you agree?
100%. I'm 100% on this with Wes. That's a lock with the over for them. So many great things. I'm with him. I think Justin Jefferson. I've seen that guy in practice. Seen that guy at LSU. Monster receiver. I think, just tool wise, I think he's the same, if not similar to Stephon Diggs, if not better. And I think by getting that negative kind of personality out of the locker room is going to make a world of difference. Again, I don't think Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback. I don't think he's great, but I think why get rid of a guy who's not fucking you over,
Mm-hmm.
So I think at 8.5, I think that's low for them. I think it's a lock at the over.
See, I'm on the same page with you guys then as well. I think Stephon Diggs hurt this team last year. I think he's a playboy. I think Kirk Cousins was forced to look his way more than he actually wanted to. It got Kirk Cousins out of rhythm. Throw that on the top of this defense is going to be hard to score on this year. Mike Zimmer is a defensive guy. He gets it. He understands. This is the NFC North. This is going to be 13-10 games all over the place. This defense is going to be prepped and ready. Is Kirk Cousins going to be able to score, though, is going to be the big question, I feel like. He's got Adam Thielen there still. Dalvin Cook is a beast. I am also going to take the over. And this team has what it takes to get to 10 or 11 wins. And in this division, I think it's going to be a race to 10 wins to get the division this year. 11 and 12 games is out of the question. I think all these games are going to be tough. They're going to be hard-nosed. It's overused, but it's NFC North football. I'm ready to watch it this year. I'm ready to see these two horses go at it. First to 10 gets the division this year, I think. On the outs currently, for me at least, is the Chicago Bears. They currently have a 7.5 win projection. They went 8-8 last year, so this falls right in line. They signed tight end Jimmy Graham to the pool of tight ends. They added Nick Foles to compete with Mitch Trubisky, which I think is a huge move. So, Steve, is Matt Nagy going to get this offense on track, or will Allen Robinson continue to be stuck with another line of subpar quarterbacks?
I'm gonna say no. At 7.5, that's way too high for me. Way too high. I think that's probably almost 4 wins too high for this team. I don't like the Bears this year. If I had to pick another lock for this division, it is the Bears at the under. I just don't see them in this division with who they play. It's very clear they have no trust in this first round quarterback that they put so much time and effort and money into. I know they kind of snuck some wins out last year. They barely beat the Broncos. They barely beat the Raiders, who I think are much, much more improved teams than anything the Bears have done. So I think it's an under for the Bears. I just don't think they're going to be good.
Yeah, Dr. West, I think we're all trending in the same direction on this one. 7.5 wins, over or under?
Yeah, like what's going on here? The last AFC game, we were all over the place. This time we're groupthink. I agree. It's the under. I think it's way under. I think it's a lock for under.
Mm-hmm.
The more they play Mitchell Trubisky, the more I like the under. I will say I think their defense makes a rebound this year. They were like the consensus number 1 defense 2 years ago, and then last year, the team was so bad that's like why try? But I think that now their defense will be okay, but I still think max 5 to 6 wins.
Yeah, this NFC North is a 2-horse race this year. By putting this number at 7.5, you're basically saying 3 of these teams are going to have, a plus 500 record, which that just is not going to happen. For me, the Bears, it's going to be an under. It's a 5 or 6 win year. Dr. West said it perfectly. If you throw Mitchell Trubisky in there for 8 games, they're going to go 2-6. If you throw Nick Foles in there, they're going to go 2-6. This team is all over the place. Matt Nagy doesn't seem like he's the option. I just don't think this team has what it takes to get to 500 this year. So therefore, that automatically puts me on the under of 7.5 wins. And bringing up the basement in Vegas is actually the Detroit Lions, or maybe we should start calling them the Detroit New England Patriots, because they picked up linebacker Jamie Collins. defensive tackle Danny Shelton, safety Deron Harmon. They did get better on the defensive side, and they were one of the worst defensive teams in the NFL last year. Matt Patricia has to use this year to prove he has what it takes to be a head coach. Wes, can Matt Stafford pull this ragtag team together?
Well, I don't think it's Matt Stafford that's the problem. Spoiler alert, the under is the number. They have a tough schedule this year. They only won 3 games last year. Granted, Matt Stafford wasn't there, but I am just not a Matt Patricia guy. You look at him on the sidelines, he looks confused. His clock management is horrendous. I'm high on the Vikings and the Packers, so it just doesn't make sense to me for the Lions. I think that they are a middling team, so to me they are, a 6-win team probably at best. So I'm going to take the under.
Steve, you feel the same way?
Honestly, yeah, absolutely. I think Matthew Stafford at the end of his career goes into the Hall of Fame. I think he'll 100% deserve it. I'm not a Matt Patricia fan. I'm with Wes. It's one of those things where those Bill Belichick coordinators, they come out and everyone thinks they're great, and it's been Bill Belichick the whole time.
Yep.
And I don't know. It's just time after time after time, again and again. Romeo Crennel, Charlie, Notre Dame guy, was that Winehurst?
Oh gosh, you're going back, yeah.
Charlie Weiss.
Weiss, yeah.
Charlie Weiss, Josh McDaniels. There's so many examples of these just Bill Belichick coordinators who went somewhere else and just could not get it done, right? I have, as long as Matthew Stafford can stay healthy, I think they are a 6-win team, but 6.5, it's close, but I think it's the under.
Yeah, I think my favorite part about the Detroit Lions, you guys summed it up perfectly, was when they're down by 14 and they zoom in on Matt Patricia on the sideline and his mouth is just like moving around behind his beard. And
Behind his beard.
I don't know if he's lost. I don't know if he's thinking. I don't know if he's farting. I don't know if he's even in the game, honestly. I think he's a very fine coordinator. I don't think he has what it takes to be a head coach, especially in this division that's full of heavy hitters year after year. I think Matt Patricia is going to be a head coaching casualty this year. I don't see the Lions winning more than 6 games. Again, very easy under for me, and I think we're kind of all on the same page this year. This is a 2-horse race. The Bears, if they surprise, it will honestly be a surprise. The Lions, they're not going to do anything this year. Their running backs can't get anything going. They don't have the game plan for it. They don't have the coaching for it. So for me, my division winner this year is actually going to be the Minnesota Vikings. I think that defense with Mike Zimmer has what it takes to push for 11 wins, maybe get to 12 depending on how well they play. But I think they're going to win the race to 10 games in the NFC North and take the division. Steve, what do you think?
I'm right there with you. I've got the Minnesota Vikings. I've got them at one more win than the Packers. It could go back and forth between those 2 games that those two teams play, but I just think with that defense and just with obviously Aaron Rodgers is a way better quarterback than Kirk Cousins, like can never dream about being. But who's around Aaron Rodgers, So I think that's a huge enough difference for at least 1 or 2 wins. So it's the Vikings.
Wes, are we 3 for 3?
This is not good. I don't like this, that we are all the same. I agree. It's the Vikings. And we have every pick exactly the same.
Yeah, so
Vegas does not lose.
Yep, we are going to we're going to have to go. Somebody here is going to have to go against what they like when they make their bets for this division.
Right.
Speaking of Vegas, though, I will say Minnesota is currently at plus 160 to win the division. That seems like amazing value, considering I feel they should be minus 120 to win the division. Packers just they're not doing it for me in the betting market, but Minnesota plus 160, throw it into some parlays. I think that has the chance to win you some money this season.
Yeah.
Wes, do you have any other bets for the NFC North that you want to go through?
I do, but they're kind of parlays for the end, so I'll hold it.
Perfect. Okay, we will move on then to the NFC South. And this division, oh my goodness, this is going to be some fireworks this year. We're going to start off with the top team in Vegas, the New Orleans Saints, 10.5 wins. They re-signed Drew Brees, Taysom Hill. They added Jameis Winston. They picked up Emmanuel Sanders to pair. I think he's going to pair very well with Michael Thomas. This looks like it's going to be the final chapter for Drew Brees. So, Dr. West, can he take the Saints back to the Super Bowl?
You know, I kind of thought about this one for a long time, and in the end, I'm going to take the under. I feel like for the Saints last year, everything was just firing on all cylinders. Michael Thomas had a career year. Everything was working out for them. They won the close games. They were at 13 wins last year. I just don't see them getting there this year. Especially, we'll talk about, with the Buccaneers getting better. Their division got better. And I think that last year was their peak, and it's going to be downhill from there. So I think they're probably an 8 to 10 win team. So I'm going to take the under.
Okay, Steve, how's the 10.5 win projection grabbing you?
So I'm high on the Saints. I think the Saints. I don't think anywhere you can look at that team and they got worse. So how can even with a strength of schedule that is the easiest in that division. Now I realize that the Buccaneers are getting better, and it depends on how you feel about the Falcons or the Panthers. Which either one of those I'm not. They're kind of a middle range team for me for both of them. I think that the Saints get into the 12 or 13 win range again. So I think that's an over for me. Drew Brees, I think this could be his last year, especially if he walks off with the Super Bowl. We'll talk about kind of our projections for the playoffs and stuff later. But I think it's a high team. I like the Emmanuel Sanders ad. They bring back some key pieces like Taysom Hill and things like that. So I'm just high on that team. It's an over.
Yeah, totally agree. This team, they didn't get worse, and they still won 13 games last year. The defense is still elite. I think that this is the final push for Drew Brees. This could be his final year. This team is going to do everything they can. Sean Payton's going to put this team in a winning position every single week. The division got a lot tougher. Tampa Bay, obviously, we'll get to them. The Falcons got Todd Gurley. I think that this is going to be an over. I think they push for the number 1 overall seed in the NFC this year. Strength of schedule is one of the easiest in the league. Understanding that the Buccaneers and Falcons appears to have gotten a little bit better, but this team is prepared. Drew Brees is prepared. It's a final hurrah. It seems like it's all setting up for a Saints push in the playoffs, but standing in their way is this newly reformed Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The win projection in Vegas is 9.5. They arguably made the move of the offseason as a Patriots fan. They grabbed Tom Brady. They picked up Gronk. They are now an immediate title contender with what was already an elite defense. They kept it intact by keeping Shaq Barrett, Jason Pierre-Paul, and Ndamukong Suh. In what could be the most competitive division, Steve, can Tampa Bay make a Super Bowl run?
The old Tampa Bay Patriots here. I think having watched very closely what Peyton Manning did in a team change by going to Denver, winning an MVP, going to 2 Super Bowls and winning 1, I think this will be great for Tom Brady. I really do. I think he'll come out. I think he'll elevate this team to a winning team. I think the Saints are just too good. I think they're all there together for so long that I don't think they're going to quite upset them. But I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers come in at a wild card team at 9.5 wins. I think you can. I don't know if it's quite a lock, but you can surely call that an over.
Dr. West, what do you think about Tampa Bay this year in this tough division?
Yeah, I think the number is perfect. For me, it's over. I think that, like I said, I think the Saints aren't as good as they're not going to be as good as what they were. They've made all these additions that you talked about. I think that Bruce Arians is an excellent coach. They won 7 games last year with Jameis Winston, who just gives the ball to the other team. He does not have any interest in protecting the ball, and it's going to be the complete opposite with Tom Brady. So I think you got to take the over. If you compare it to the Dallas Cowboys at 9.5, you compare it to the Saints at 10.5, you compare it to the San Francisco 49ers at 10.5, I think that is a much safer bet to take the over for the Buccaneers.
Yeah, I totally agree. With Jameis Winston last year, they basically started every single game down 7-0. There's nothing like coming into a game where you've spotted the other team 7 points because your quarterback doesn't understand how to take care of the ball. That will not be an issue this year. They did go 7-9 with a quarterback that had 30 interceptions last year. Just mind-boggling. He threw for 5,000 yards. The offense remained mostly intact. They drafted Keyshawn Vaughn, who should come in and play. They picked up LaShawn McCoy. This team, I think, is set along with the Saints. They are my two favorite teams in the NFC to make a deep run this year. I think they're the most prepared. Two good defenses, two fantastic offenses. I think the Saints get to 12 wins. I think the Bucs get to at least 11 wins. They could push the Saints out of the number one overall seed, I honestly feel like. And I think counting out Tom Brady from double-digit wins is a mistake. So if you see 9.5, I would take it. Tom Brady's there. He's going to get you double-digit wins. He's going to pay you off. I think this is going to be a great matchup if these two teams meet for the NFC Championship, the Saints and the Bucs. That's going to be fireworks. I'm looking forward to it. On the bottom half now, we'll start off with the Atlanta Falcons. A win projection of 7.5. They won 7 games last year. They lost tight end Austin Hooper and cornerback Desmond Trufant. They did pick up Todd Gurley, but it seems like he's only got one working leg. I know the coaches came out and said they want to get him 16, 18, 20 touches a game. So Dr. West, while there are a lot of questions with Todd Gurley and this team, they'll need Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and Calvin Ridley to bring the firepower. Do you think they can do it?
I do. I think 7.5 is just such a low number for a team that has this much firepower. I think they underachieved last year with the talent they had. I mean, they made a run. Basically, when Dan Quinn's job was on the line, the team was like, oh, okay, we better start playing now. And it started to play better in the second half of the season. I think that they'll continue that this year. I don't think Austin Hooper is as good as everybody thinks. Hayden Hurst, I think, is a decent replacement. And so, in my mind, I think they should have lost. They should have won more than 7 games last year. I think they're comparable to what they were last year, and so I think they're an 8 to 9 win team.
Okay, Steve, do you agree? 7.5 wins.
So I think the Falcons are tough to read. They're a team that they easily could go 3-13, or they're a team that easily could go 10-6, right? Just based on how does Matt Ryan play? Does Julio Jones get the ball as much as he absolutely should? Julio Jones, between him and Michael Thomas, could be the best receiver in the NFL on a week in and week out consistent basis. So you can never count those guys out. But looking at the schedule, I just don't have high hopes in the Falcons. They don't give me that warm and fuzzy. I think Dan Quinn in a year or two won't be the head coach of that team, and I just think 7.5 it's probably about right. But with what everything else is going on, how I think other teams are going to play based on their schedule, because they do have a tough schedule, I think it's an under for the 7.5 win projection.
Yeah, they do have the 5th toughest strength of schedule in the NFL this year. The big question mark for me with this team is their defense. They can put up points with the Saints, they can put up points with the Bucs, but the difference is the Saints and the Bucs have the defense, and I just don't think the Falcons do. So the Falcons, they could score 31 points a game. They're going to be great fantasy options because they're going to be giving up 35 points a game. So Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, Todd Gurley, I think are all good fantasy options, but as an overall football team, I think that this is a 7-win team again this year. The way this division's panning out with the Saints and the Bucs, I just don't think that the Falcons are going to have the wins in them for this season. I wouldn't be shocked if they won 10 games. But for me, this is also just barely an under. This is one where I wouldn't bet this number. Under doesn't seem right. Over seems right, but doesn't seem plausible with how I think the division's going to go. So it has to be an under for me at 7 wins. And then following up the division is going to be the Carolina Panthers. This team won 5 games last year, 5.5 win projection this year. They released Cam Newton to pick up Teddy Bridgewater, which I think is a downgrade. I think Teddy Bridgewater is serviceable, but he's not going to go out there and win you these games like you're going to have with the Falcons, the Bucs, and the Saints. He did go 5-0, though, filling in for Drew Brees last year, but that was the Saints. Christian McCaffrey is going to have to lead this team if they want anything to do with a sniff at the playoffs. So, Steve, how do you think the Panthers are going to fare this year?
So I think 5.5 is pretty much right at the number, right? I think it's right about right. I'm with you. I think on a just overall grade of how you look at Cam Newton versus Teddy Bridgewater. I think Teddy Bridgewater coming in the NFL had some high hopes. He had some injury issues up there in Minnesota, so that kind of knocked him down a peg. Clearly, yeah, he did win 5 games with this, with the Saints filling in for Drew Brees. But I feel like I could walk into that team and win 2 or 3 games with that team, right? Standing at quarterback.
They're pretty stacked.
Yeah. So it's not really doesn't really speak to Bridgewater as more as it speaks to Sean Payton, his ability to manage games and things like that. It's a new head coach. I think the backup that they brought in, I can't recall his name for the new head coach. He was there with him. So it could be some controversy there anyway. So who knows if Bridgewater is even going to finish the year. So I think it's at 5.5. I think this team is a 6-win team. So I have to go the over, but it's just barely over.
Dr. West, how do you feel about the Panthers' chances this year?
Like Steve said, I think this number is perfect. If I could take the push, I would. I wouldn't touch this at all with my own real money.
Yeah.
I'm mostly taking the under based off how I feel about the other teams in the division. I feel, that they're clearly the 4th best team in this division, in my opinion. Like you said, I don't think that Teddy Bridgewater is anything special. And what we're not talking about is they probably have the worst defense in the entire NFL. If not the worst, then close to it. So they're going to get run all over by the Saints, the Bucs, and the Falcons. They're going to put up 40-plus points on them, I would bet. So I'm taking the under, and I feel pretty confident about that.
Yeah, this team does not have a shot at sniffing the playoffs this year while they're in this division. Maybe they can be cut out of this division and swap places with the Jaguars, and then they'd have a chance or something like that. But for Carolina this year, it's just not going to happen. They are in the running for a top 5 pick next year. I can't see them getting over 5.5. That means in this division, they're going to have 6 wins. With how well the Saints, Bucs, and Falcons are poised to be this year, pulling 6 wins out of this team, you got to think 16 games. So out of the remaining 10 games, they have to win probably at least 5 of those. I don't see it happening. So it's going to be the under for me for the Panthers. So, Steve, who do you actually have winning this division then?
So I have the Saints. I'm real high on what that team is. I think it's one of the complete teams in the NFL. I think they very likely might be the best team in the NFL.
Dr. West, do you agree?
I'm going to take the Bucs. I think both them and the Saints will be around 10 wins. But it's hard to bet against Bruce Arians and Tom Brady, who I think are probably some of the best coach and quarterback combinations in the league. So I'll take the Bucs.
Yeah, this is one of my divisions. I am looking forward to seeing all of these games. As a Patriots fan as well, I love that Tom Brady went to this division. It's a division to prove himself. It's not like the, AFC South over there where you got the Titans and all that stuff. I think this is going to be fantastic, but I do still think that the Saints are one of the best teams in the NFL. They are going to push for that number 1 overall seed, get that bye for Drew Brees, and I think that we're going to see a Saints Buccaneers NFC Championship. We're going to have fireworks. I think it's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to that. If that's what comes to fruition, of course, we will find out. Dr. West, do you have any bets that you would lock in with this particular division?
I'm not feeling real confident with this division, so I'm going to hold off on my bets from this one.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel too. It's another 2-horse race. There's a game split between them. This is so hard to put your money on anybody. It's not like the Chiefs, who I think are going to run away. Saints and Bucs are clearly the top 2. Would I be surprised to see the Falcons go 12-4? Honestly, no. I wouldn't make any bets here. The New Orleans is currently minus 125 to win the division. Pass. Tampa Bay is okay at plus 150 to win the division. I think that's fine if you include it in some parlays potentially. But it's just too much of a toss-up, honestly, up here at the very top to make any real solid picks, I think, betting-wise. And with that, then, that brings us to our last NFC division, the NFC West. We have the representative of the NFC in this division last year, the San Francisco 49ers. We're going to kick it off. They have a win projection of 10.5 wins. They did lose wide receiver Emmanuel Sanders to the Saints, but they drafted Arizona State wide receiver Brandon Ayuk in the first round. The overall roster did not change much from a 13-3 record last year. So, Wes, do you think they can come close to repeating their 13-win success from last season?
To be honest, no. I think that they caught lightning in a bottle last year. I think that that is the absolute peak that you'll see from this squad. Uh, Everything just worked out for them. They won all of their close games. It just they don't strike me as the dominant team that they were last year. I think they're going to be relying largely on George Kittle. He's going to have to carry Garoppolo, who I consider a league median quarterback. Who's the running back? Who knows? Maybe Mostert, who was, 2 years ago, you didn't even know who his name was. So to me, it's an under, but it's probably close. I mean, Vegas is good. I think it's probably a 10-win team.
Okay, Steve, what do you think about the 49ers this year?
I think with that buzzsaw of a defense they have, I think you can toss a coin, whatever Bosa you want, but it's Nick Bosa there on the 49ers. So I think Garoppolo is better than a lot of people give him credit for. I think he is probably an above average team quarterback. I don't think he's going to hurt the team too much. I remember the game last year where the 49ers had like 4 turnovers, but gave up like 3 points off of those turnovers because that defense is just so good. I think they're probably right about what they were last year. I think it's a 12-13 win team, so I think it's the over. I know the strength of schedule is tough, but just that defense is so good.
Yeah, they have the 4th toughest schedule this year. 10.5. This division, I have some surprises for you guys. I don't know how much I trust this team this year with this running back carousel they've got going on. Apparently, Jerick McKinnon is back at some point. Tevin Coleman is there. It's just hard to get into a rhythm when you are playing 3 and 4 running backs. Is Garoppolo going to go win you many games? No, he is serviceable. He's the Kirk Cousins of the NFC West, I feel like. Not a bad quarterback. He'll get you there. Not going to lose you many games. I'm going to take just barely the under here. I think they do get to 10 wins because of that defense. Defense is still perfectly sound. It's fantastic. They're going to have a good running game. It's just, can they score the points this year with a really hard schedule? Some games they will, some games they won't. I think they're going to fall just short of this win projection with 10 wins still. And I do think they're still going to make the playoffs. Still a pretty solid team. But then that takes us to the next team in the NFC West. We have the Seattle Seahawks. They come with a win projection of 9.5. They went 11-5 last year, but they did not make very many moves at all in the offseason. They signed wide receiver Philip Dorsett, but they didn't sign any elite pass rushers when they only had 28 sacks as a defense last year. They are going to have to get after the quarterback this year to have any sort of chance. With Russell Wilson, anything is possible. But Steve, do you think they can repeat another 11-win season?
So I think it's close. I think it speaks to kind of where I think the Cardinals and the Rams are at versus where I think the Seahawks are at. I think the Seahawks are very much on the downcline. I'm not a huge Russell Wilson fan. That does not speak to what I think he is as a quarterback. I think he's a great quarterback. I think with him and Pete Carroll, you can never really count that team out. They just they consistently find a way to win, which blows my mind how they do it. They don't really have anyone else on that team other than Russell Wilson. I think they got worse on that defense. No more Jadeveon Clowney. At 9.5 wins, though, just going through the schedule and seeing what I'm seeing, it could be a toss-up between them and the Cardinals. If the Cardinals kind of take that step and the Seahawks just don't have that magic this year, very easily you could swap the Cardinals and the Seahawks. But I just have a hard time betting against Russell Wilson and what they're able to do year in and year out. So at 9.5 wins, I have them about a 10 to 11 win team. So I think it's an over there.
Dr. West, do you agree?
You surprised me. You talked bad about them that whole time, and then you went over.
Yeah, they're just going to fall into 10 or 11 wins this year.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a Bill Belichick thing, right? I don't. Do I think they're going to? Did you guys think that the Patriots are going to be great? No, but it's hard to bet against them, right? So, do I think they're going to be great? No, but it's just hard. At that, the Seahawks are my New England Patriots team,
Yeah, they're just a model of consistency, winning these 10-game seasons every single year. They just come out of nowhere, it feels like.
Right.
Yeah. For me, this is a lock on the over. I feel very confident in the Seahawks. I think DK Metcalf is going to make a step forward. Tyler Lockett. I mean, they've had all this time to get better with Russell Wilson. I think this is one of the teams that's really going to hurt them COVID in terms of not having the 12th man of having their stadium. But I'm down on the 49ers. I'm down on the Rams. I'm not as high on the Cardinals as a lot of people are. They won 11 games last year, and I don't see how they're going to lose more than they did last year. So I like them. I like them to win the division. They're plus 220 to win the division. I think that's pretty good odds. So yeah, lock me in.
This is a very strange division for me this year. I don't quite know what to make of it. Not a division I'm ever particularly interested in, but this year I am very interested. I think you put it perfectly. There's no 12th man for Seattle this year. That is worth 1 to 2 wins for them, it feels like, every single year. These East Coast teams traveling out west, having to deal with the crowd noise, having to deal with the rain. It's Seattle, of course. With no fans, 9.5 seems absolutely perfect for me. Unfortunately, again, I'm full of surprises in this division. I'm taking the under. I think they get to 9 wins. 10 seems like a bit of a push considering 2 of the games are against the 49ers. They got the Rams and Cardinals coming up. It just seems like a lot. The defense is the question mark. I don't see how they're going to be able to stop some of these elite offenses in the NFC. A playoff push is well within reason, but I just can't see Seattle making that big push this year, considering I have plans for some other teams in this division, which brings us then to the Los Angeles Rams, who have an 8-game win projection. They went 9-7 last year. They cut Todd Gurley in a shocking move. They traded away Brandon Cooks. But last year they did trade for cornerback Jalen Ramsey. It cost them a first-round pick this year, so they had no first-round pick. With all 3 teams apparently picking up steam, it sounds like, in this division, Dr. West, can the Rams hang in there this year?
I don't know. Before I saw the numbers in my mind, I was thinking they were an 8-8 team, and I think that Las Vegas nailed it, just like they almost always do. So I'm going to wuss out and say push, leaning the under, but. I'm not that impressed with Jared Goff. Who knows who their running back is going to be this year? Is Cooper Kupp going to carry you to victory? Tyler Higbee? I mean, who do they have? It's just not that impressive. I think their defense will keep them in games. They probably have, Aaron Donald, who's arguably the best defensive player in the game. I think they'll keep them in games, but I just think that given that the pressure they're going to have around them, I think it's a push. 8-8 team.
Push
probably.
at 8. So, Steve, do you have the Los Angeles Jeff Fishers as well going 8-8?
Yeah, so I'm not high on the Rams. I just don't see. I think Jared Goff is an okay quarterback. I think 8 wins is something that they could get to. Absolutely. Considering if they take one from, say, the Cardinals or the Seahawks, which I think is very possible. That could 100% happen. But just based on everything plays out, I think this is a 6-win team. So I think it's an under. And I would almost be willing to lock that in with the Rams on the under.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you, Steve. I have this team as a 6-10 win team. So yeah. I am going to say the under as well. You are basically counting on Aaron Donald and Cooper Kupp to win you 9 games in this division. Jared Goff, serviceable again. Not fantastic. He has shown the ability to throw for more than 400 yards in games repetitively, which is fantastic. But 8 wins this year. Something about this just screams under to me. I can't quite put my finger on it. I don't feel an over coming here. 6-10 seems well within reason. So that's going to bring me to my force majeure here, my pick of this round. If you can't tell, I'm under on all 3 of these teams. So I'm going to take the lead on this one, and I am going to say the Arizona Cardinals are going to go over 7 wins. They went 5-10-1 last year. Kyler Murray is in his second year. They signed DeAndre Hopkins. What a steal. They maintained their solid wide receiver core with Larry Fitzgerald, Christian Kirk. David Johnson is gone, though, but I think that's actually an upgrade. They now have Kenyon Drake managing the backfield. I think Cliff Kingsbury's offense is going to finally click this year. He has the pieces that he needs. He's ready to go. He can run all these 5 wide receiver sets all day that he wants to. These defenses aren't going to understand what's going on. I think that this team can push for 10 wins, and I think this team can push to be the division winner. That's going to be my big upset from the NFC this year. Is I am going to take the Arizona Cardinals to win the NFC West this year. So, Steve, do you agree or disagree?
I think 7 wins is low for them. I think Kyler Murray will make a jump. I think he'll do good. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a huge signing. I think Larry Fitzgerald is still an absolute amazing wide receiver, especially for what he's done over the time that he's been in the league. I think he's a great possession wide receiver. He's clearly not your number one, but now you have a different guy at number one. I'm with you. I think Kenyon Drake clearly is an upgrade over what David Johnson was. Kenyon Drake came in at the end of last year after the trade deadline, did some really great stuff out there in Arizona. Their defense is, it's sketchy, but this division isn't really about super high octane offenses, right? Like, you don't need to score 35 points a game to win games in this division. So if your defense is just kind of okay, it's okay, So I don't think they're much over the win projection. I have them as an 8-win team, a very middle road, but I think it is an over from what Vegas thinks.
All right, Wes, are you on the overtrain with us?
Yeah, I think you guys said it well. I don't think there's much for me to add. I think that this number is a little low. I think they're probably an 8 to 9 win team.
Okay, so as you guys know, I think the Cardinals are taking this division this year. That is my upset pick. Steve, who you got winning the NFC West this year?
I have the 49ers. I just think that defense is just too imposing. I think they're a absolute buzzsaw. And I just think they're by far and away the best defense in this division, and I think that's what wins it for them.
All right, that sounds good. Yes, Wes, are you on with one of us? You got another pick?
No, I'm diverging. Give me the Seahawks.
The Seahawks. There we go.
The wins have to come somewhere for me. I just don't see it happening from the other teams, and I'll take the consistency of the Seahawks.
So we are all over. This NFC West is going to be fun this year, I think. This is going to be a crapshoot. All 3 of these teams could each just win 9 games, and comes down to those head-to-head matches are going to be absolutely gigantic. For this particular division, though, I like the Cardinals to win the division, but that's more on gut. I am not willing to put my money where my mouth is. I would sprinkle a little bit if you're feeling a little dangerous. Plus 700 to win the division actually feels pretty fantastic, considering I feel the Rams are on a decline. Can they steal some games from the 49ers and the Seahawks? I think they can. 700 seems pretty good just to win the division for me. Other than that, I would stay away from everything else with this division. Do you guys have any other bets from the NFC West that you would go for?
I think the Rams is a lock to go under 8 wins. I just don't see it. I think that's a very fair bet to put them under.
I do like that as well. Yeah, I think that's almost a guaranteed under. It just feels under this year. Like, Sean McVay has done a lot for this team, but something just doesn't click with me this year with this team, and I think it's going to come out when they only win 6 or 7 games this year. That maybe Sean McVay isn't the genius that everyone thought he was.
I just think all the other teams are while I think the Seahawks are on the downcline, I just think they're still so far ahead of that Rams team that even on the downcline, that they're just not quite there. And I think the other two are coming up and are coming up fast. So I don't think the Rams are keeping up.
Yep. Wes, do you have any bets that you like from the NFC West?
For this particular division, I probably wouldn't bet it, but plus 220 for the Seahawks to win the division. That's not a bad bet in my opinion.
Yeah, that actually is a lot better than I thought it was going to be, honestly. Plus 220 seems pretty solid. The Rams shouldn't be in contention again, so you're basically competing with the 49ers there for plus 220. And can Jimmy G take them there again? We shall see. Overall, in the NFC for betting, I would put together a parlay. I'd throw together the Cowboys. I'd throw together Minnesota, and I'd throw together New Orleans. If you parlay those together, you actually get plus 756. for 3 teams I feel like have a really good chance at winning the division this year. So that seems like really solid value. Do you guys have any other bets then that you would throw for the NFC in general?
I have a few, and they're actually not specific to the NFC. I was just looking at these things. We did the AFC show before. So if you're looking at MVP odds, it's almost always a quarterback that wins, right? And it's
Yep.
always a quarterback for a good team. So to me, that means either Lamar or Patrick Mahomes. The interesting thing is Patrick Mahomes is plus 400 to win MVP, but he's plus 700 to win Offensive Player of the Year. I don't know why there's such a big discrepancy. So I think plus 700 from Patrick Mahomes, Offensive Player of the Year, is a good bet. Another one I like is Greg Zuerlein, Greg the Leg.
Oh,
He's plus 900, so 9-1 on your odds to win most kicking points. I like that. I think that the Cowboys are going to score a lot of points.
Yeah.
They may even get stopped short of the goal line. I think that on 9-1, if you played the season 9 times, I think that Greg the Leg would get 2 or 3 times, most kicking points like that. And then finally, getting into some NFC parlays, I think that Minnesota over, Chicago under, and Seattle over. I like those all a lot. If you parlay those together, you get plus 869, so 8-1 on your money. Then if you add in Mahomes as MVP, you would get plus 4,700, so 47-1 on your money on that one. Just to switch it up, I would round robin it a little bit. With those 3 locked in, with Lamar as the MVP, is 76-1, which is spicy. And then since I'm so high on the Seahawks, if you change those Mahomes or Lamar to Russell Wilson, it's 86-1.
okay.
So I like those.
That's big money, big spender over here.
Yeah.
$100 bet on those is going to get you $8,600 for that last one, just as an example. So that could net you a pretty penny then if one of those do come through.
Right.
So to wrap up the video then, let's go through our Super Bowl predictions. So to start off, out of the AFC, it's got to be Kansas City for me. Out of the NFC, I actually have New Orleans winning the division, but then I have Tampa Bay beating them in the NFC Championship. I think, me personally, it is very hard to bet against Tom Brady when it comes to the playoffs. The Super Bowl this year is in Tampa, and there's never been a host also being in the Super Bowl, so I think we're going to see a Tampa Bay, Kansas City Super Bowl this year, and I think that, unfortunately, Kansas City is going to take it. Tampa Bay is going to put up a hell of a fight, I think. Mahomes gets his revenge on Tom Brady in the form of back-to-back Super Bowl championships this year.
Go ahead, Steve.
So, from the earlier video, I had Baltimore going to the AFC. I think it's a toss-up between them and Kansas City. But I think Lamar Jackson comes in. He seems just so motivated to just get past that first round, to win a playoff game, to get into the Super Bowl. I think I'm with Anthony on terms of, I think New Orleans wins the division, but I also think New Orleans goes to the Super Bowl. I just think they're too good of a team. I think, again, this is a Drew Brees last 2 Raw thing. I would love to see Drew Brees walk away with the Lombardi Trophy, but honestly, I think Baltimore takes it this year. I think Baltimore is our Super Bowl champions.
All right, Dr. West, bring us home. Who you got?
All right. From the previous video, I said Kansas City is going to win the AFC. No shock there. And the NFC, I think, is down between the Vikings and the Seahawks. I will take a lean to the Seahawks. I don't have a really great argument. It's just a gut feeling that I have. So I'm going Seahawks versus Chiefs, and I would take the Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
All right, guys. Well, that'll do it. Thank you for tuning in to our NFC JustCuz TV NFL win projections video. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you haven't yet, go check out our AFC video as well. Hit that subscribe button. Hope you guys enjoy, and we'll see you all in the next video.